So yeah, I decided on this format. So basically describe the episode I'm starting at and the episode I'm ending at. So this is sort of a talk, and there's a reason. But let's get into this. I'm going to talk about this because I want to. And it's mostly just me being like, I'm not scripting this. There's no script. Just talk. So, episode 1. I think is an interesting first episode. Because you go in and you get this presence. The whole room is lit darkly. Because I think you learn in this episode, which is why I'm doing it, but I'm not going to mention it, you feel this darkness with 3E. You want to know why is there present, and you sort of get the answer of like, this is 3E. You get this thing of like, yeah, we're just the end. Obviously, E is A, B, C, D, E, the 5th letter. So there are 4 other classrooms, presumably. Because it's year 3. I always do ask this, where's E1 and E2? There's always E3, but no previous years. But it shows in certain flashbacks that they were there for previous years. I don't know. There's probably some reason. I don't know. Probably like, oh, here's E2 and E1 on separate mountains. I don't have an explanation, realistically. So, maybe it's something to do with the government, because there's this whole thing, which makes sense. I also like that it starts off with immediately everyone coming up and shooting. Because, realistically, if someone said, kill this person, would be the logical reasoning. You also get them talking about what the sort of motivation is, what the goal is. And then you get another assassination attempt, which shows them being more desperate, which is basically one of the person who's becoming more person who's like, oh yeah, we'll just do this, we'll just get the money. He's got more of a thing later, so I'll talk about him later. Also, I forgot his name, so I might need to research it. Definitely for those episodes, but that's not in this chunk. But he does put a teaspoon of gunpowder in like one of those toy sort of like grenades, and boom, with a bunch of BBs. Obviously, he survives, the person who's doing the trick, and he actually gets complimented for like, oh no, I didn't actually think you were doing that. But I like the idea that it's like, I will hurt your family. It's like, oh, we were meant to do it. Sure. But, like, at least care for you to live. Which just sounds so bad. It's like, if you don't value your life, I will murder your family. It's like, oh, fuck. It is fun, and it is a good intro. It basically shows the dynamic, it shows what the goal is, and it shows the general feeling. And episode 2 sort of shows something else. A contradiction. It's basically 2 small stories like episode 1 is. One deals with another assassination attempt with a baseball, which even he points out is quieter but a lot slower. But then he goes to New York, says, oh, here's some areas where you might not be as good compared to baseball. You got a good speech by, I think it's Nike? I'm not 100% sure. I'm bad at pronunciations. And he's like, yeah, we're E-class. We're the end of the end. And it's like, oh no, that's not what I was saying. I actually went to baseball and you actually are more flexible in these areas. And it's like, I actually got a signature. It's like, what the fuck? You also get something interesting, which is essentially a story where they do it again. And it's like, why don't you smell the tulips? And it's like, oh, we've been planting them since we were born. And then he plants them, which again, for a person who's trying to destroy the planet, it's odd. He's planting something. He's looking after these things. So it shows again this contradiction. He's going to destroy the world, yet he cares enough about these students that 1, he's teaching them, and 2, he's planting the tulips. Why would you do that? Is interesting. And it's one of the things that brings up a thing. And he actually ties himself back being like, oh, all of this stuff. Which is interesting. Obviously, then you get the more important episodes. Hence why I went to 5 was for another reason. Episode 3. Karma. It's not called Karma, but Karma is here. Karma is an interesting thing because Karma and Nagi sort of play a duality. Two sides of the same thing. One is a better combatant, one is a better assassin. Both are two roles which are important in this classroom. And he goes out swinging. This is one of the episodes where it's just one story. Some of the episodes you split up into a couple of stories or you go to certain segments. This one deals with him. Where he's on the front, he's doing these sneak attacks, doing these skillfulness, and it's working until it doesn't. And his backstory of like someone who, a teacher who let him down, made him sort of do what the other person did in sort of episode 1, and sort of did a thing of falling backwards from a great height to sort of risk himself life, same with the grenade trick. And the teacher did save him, but it was a different thing of that was out of hopelessness, this was out of this is the last card I have, but I still want to do this because of this sort of like, there is a certain level of like, I don't want to risk my life, but I know this could be a way forward. I don't know why. It's interesting how on this side it's like, oh, I'm doing this because I'm desperate. This one is like, I want to prove something. You also have Miss Yelovich. And I know the TV series that they call her another name, but we're on social media. I don't think I'm allowed to say that name. Because that's just a swear word. And also it is Vitch. Yelovich. I don't know where the name came from. Completely. But she comes in being all like to Kuro Sensei, this someone who's very has this emotional thing. Very plays on like the, I think someone pointed out, and then even she was like, who called me the which is Black Widow. Which I more take as the assassin type, which is more someone who is, I take it more of like that sort of like someone who is undercover, emotional one, right? Someone of, I don't know what her name, I always forget her name, but the one from the Sherlock Holmes and the Moriarty books I'm reviewing. And at first it looks like it works, but because he's, I think, smarter. And the other thing I like is that she slowly becomes a teacher. It's like, well, if you can't be an assassin and a teacher, you can't be fit in. Which I think is clever. Of her slowly, you see this in other episodes of so slowly becoming integrated. And there's a whole thing about her. But again, not in this section. And lastly, episode 5. This is short, so it's like, 8 minutes, 40 seconds by this point, roughly. But I don't have much to say about this episode. I just wanted to put it in because it shows what episode 1 and why the dark energy is this sort of mocking of like pushing down the idea of the worker ant theory. Is like 10% will work hard, 5% wouldn't work at all, 90%, no, it's 5, and 90% will kind of fit in between the range. But if you put 10% down, everyone else will be like, oh, I'm not them, so I'm going to really try. I don't like this method because some people who have disabilities get put in that position, so it's very much not that. But you see how much they get mocked in episode 5, and definitely the trail, which is insane, shows why in episode 1 there was this sort of dark, why should we care energy. But yeah. Obviously, next episode is episode 6. I don't know, I'm going to think about where I go next to the next set of episodes, but I do love this series. I do absolutely love this. I do hope you enjoy this set of videos. I hope you enjoy, and good night.